What is up guys, it's Noody here. As I promised last video, today we'll be discussing a new weird off-meta build that I've made for Thief. This build is built for Conquest PvP, but I see no reason why something similar wouldn't work for roaming in World vs World. Before I do get into the build, I just have to mention that this build completely goes against traditional +1 and decap Thief. So at first glance, people on your team and other players will not understand it at all because it doesn't play the usual Thief role. I thought to myself, other classes such as Herald are beginning to do +1s better than Thief itself, and I was honestly just getting bored of the same old SD build, seeing as DP has died. So I decided to flip things on its head and thought, what would a side node Thief look like? A 1v1 side node Thief. And this is what I came up with. I also have to mention that this build has so many things that can be tweaked or changed to suit your opponent's or playstyle better, so it's in no way a set in stone build, and it's not finished at all. The options are endless. So I'll quickly go over the build and its options and then explain its role using clips I gathered in a single night of playing it. Here we go.
Alright, so I'm going to be going over the build live just because I can't be bothered doing too much editing until I show the clips. So we're going to go over it so I don't have to stop and do a lot of editing and stuff. So first of all, we'll go over the traits because this is the build here, but there's a lot that can be changed, especially with the rune. So we'll go over that in a bit. Acro, Trickery, and Daredevil. So we'll go over Acro first. We are running instant reflexes. This is a given when running Acro on Thief. In those 1v1s when struck below 50% HP, you get an invuln for 2 seconds where you're evading attacks. Next up, we've got Hard to Catch. So with Hard to Catch, it's really good because, well, first let me explain it. When you're CC'd for the first time, it instantly stun breaks you and refills your endurance. This is really good because it can interrupt a lot of people's bursts, like with, for example, a Power Mesmer. They set up their burst using a daze. That's instantly going to allow you to stun break that, and you can use an evade, you can use your heal, you can use your roll for initiative. So I prefer this. You don't run Swindler's Equilibrium. You can because the offhand is sword, but I personally prefer Hard to Catch. Lastly, in Acrobats, we're running Assassin's Reward because it's going to be healing you every time you use a skill that uses initiative. And with this build, because we are running Staff main hand, it's like guaranteed that you're going to be using a lot of initiative, and that extra healing is what keeps you alive with such a small health pool. So yeah, using Vault, your Staff 3 and your Staff 2, which are the main skills in this build, you're going to be getting a lot of healing out of that. So with the minor traits, we've got Gain Swiftness upon dodging, Gain Vigor upon successfully evading attack. That's what's really handy because we're doing a lot of evading in this build. There's shitloads of evades. And then finally, we've got, the effects of Vigor are even better on you, so they're enhanced. So, it's literally, Vigor does twice as much as it regularly would. Now we'll move on to Trickery. So in Trickery, we'll go over the main traits first. So we're running Thrill of the Crime. When you use Steel, it's going to be giving you all these boons. I prefer it over Lesser Haste. That's really up to you which one you prefer, but I usually always go Thrill of the Crime. Next up, we've got Trickster. So this is another optional one. You can run Bountiful Theft, which steals boons from your opponent when you steal and gives you Vigor, or you can run Trickster, which I prefer because it literally makes you immune to Condis. Like, there is no way you can die to a Condi build 1v1 on this build, unless you're versing a very good player. So with Trickster, it reduces the recharge of your trick skills. So we're running 3. We're running Withdraw, Roll for Initiative, and Dagger Storm. So not only that, it removes conditions every time you use them. So your Withdraw, for example, not only is it going to cure, one of the standard Condis, which is the Chill, Cripple, Immobilize, and Torment, but it's going to also remove a Condi on top of that. So, I really like Trickster. Next up, we've got Sleight of Hand. So, stealing dazes the target, but the main part is that it reduces the recharges of Steel. Even though this build isn't heavily revolved around landing Steel, I mean, of course you want to land Steel, but it's not as crucial as it is with previous Thief builds. I just prefer it because, the other two options aren't that great. So with the minor traits, we've got Kleptomaniac, so stealing gives you initiative. We've got Preparedness, increases maximum initiative by 3, which is very good. Once again, we're using a lot of initiative in this build. And then finally, Lead Attacks. This is a big one because you get extra damage per initiative spent, and we're always going to be on full stacks when we're in a 1v1 because we're using lots of staff skills. Finally, we have Daredevil. So with Daredevil, that gives us access to the staff, of course, and physical skills, but we're not using any except Bandit's Defense. First trait we've got is Weakening Strikes. This is an optional one. You can run Havoc Mastery instead, but with that weakness, every time you critically hit someone, it gives them 5 seconds of weakness on a 10-second cooldown. So when you're in a 1v1 against any power build, for example Spellbreaker, Soul Beast, even a Hollowsmith, this trait is literally the MVP. It makes sure their endurance regen is shit, and it also makes them do less damage. So I prefer this definitely over Havoc Mastery. This build is made to 1v1, not just to do big bursts. Although the damage is good, I much prefer Weakening Strikes. Next up, we have Escapist Absolution. So remove a condition when you evade. Once again, this build has shitloads of evades. So Condi builds, such as a Condi Mirage, aren't going to be doing shit to you. You've got your Staff 3, you've got your Vault, you've got your Withdraw, you've got your Roll for Initiative, and your Dagger Storm, and of course your 3 dodges with Vigor. You're going to be dodging and evading so many attacks, and with a 1 second cooldown, Condis are literally going to be slipping off you, especially in collaboration with Trickster. So once again, Condis aren't doing shit. Alternatively, if you're not fighting very Condi heavy classes, you can use Staff Master, which gives you, more endurance when you've spent initiative, and of course bonus damage. Now, finally, we have Bounding Dodger. Bounding Dodger, we are running this because it gives you extra damage, 10% damage every time you dodge, and of course, you get the damage out of the dodge. Sorry, I can't speak. You get damage out of the dodge at the end of it. So with that, it just helps you put out more damage, because as I mentioned, we're dodging a lot in this build. So when you're on a node, a not very large area, there's a big chance you're going to be landing those bound dodges as well. We'll go over the minor traits. We have Driven Fortitude, gain health when successfully evading attacked. Once again, we're evading a lot of attacks. And then next up we have Endurance Thief. So gain endurance when you successfully steal from an enemy. That's the main part of landing steal in this build. So, once again, you want to land steal, of course. And that is the traits. Okay, now that we've gone over the traits, let's get into the build. So, this is the build. We're running Staff with Sword Pistol. Sword Pistol is optional. You can run a different weapon set here. You can run DP if you like. You can run Short Bow if you like for the extra mobility like a usual thief would. But personally, I like Sword Pistol. It could be overkill, I don't know, but I'll explain. So with the Staff, we are running Sigil of Agility and Sigil of Annulment. So the quickness is mainly just for your Vault. So as soon as you swap, you can get off a quick Vault. And then we have Annulment. So your next 2 attacks after swapping to this weapon will remove 2 boons. So that can come in really handy, especially against Hollowsmiths. With the Sword Pistol, we are running Cleansing and Energy. So the Energy is mainly for a bit of an oh shit button, because the only times you're really going to be swapping to Sword Pistol is for the stealth. So when we dodge through our smoke field, we get stealth. So the reason I've got an Energy Sigil here is because you want that 1 dodge at least. You're going to be burning a lot of dodges with this build on node, so if you need to get out, as soon as you swap to Sword Pistol, you've got 25% extra endurance, so you can at least get stealth and, take that target off of you. Next up, we'll talk about the rune. This is the most controversial part of this build. It's literally so many options of runes you can run instead of Earth. I've only tried Earth, but I know, just in theory, there's other runes that will work. So let's go over the Earth first, and then we'll talk about the other options. So you get the main stat is toughness, and you get extra protection endurance. So you also get plus 10 incoming healing effectiveness, which is in conjunction with your assassin's reward in the acro line. And then you gain protection and a magnetic aura which reflects projectiles when you're struck by a foe at the start of a fight. So against things like, ranges, longbow ranges and whatnot, this can come in really handy. I don't know, I like Earth. Some people may disagree, but I like it. We'll go over some of the other options. So first one I'd say is you could run Rune of Daredevil. So you gain extra power, you've still got some toughness, not as much, but you also crit, after completing a dodge roll, so that can be really handy. You could even run Scrapper. You get more power, a little bit less toughness once again, but damage is reduced when within 600 range of an enemy, which on Node, you're going to be within 600 range a lot of the time. You could also run Rune of Resistance, so you get the same amount of toughness, less condi duration, and you gain resistance for 4 seconds after activating an elite skill. So the resistance part of this is pretty useless, because if you're using Dagger Storm, that's it goes for 4 seconds, so that resistance isn't really going to do anything unless you've got shitloads of condis on you. Could be good, but I wouldn't recommend it, because you're losing condis when doing Dagger Storm anyway because of the Trickster trait. The Trickster and the Escapist Absolution. So that's an option. I'd say it's more so for the less condi duration on you. But once again, the build handles condis fine, so probably not the best option. You could run Melandru, so you get the same amount of toughness, once again less condi duration, minus 20% stun duration, but the build deals with condis fine, so I wouldn't recommend it once again. You could literally run Rune of Speed, you just wouldn't have any toughness. In replacement you'd have Vitality, and you'd move really fast, but honestly, like I said, you're on Node, you don't really need that extra movement speed. We then have Dolyak. You could run Dolyak, so extra toughness, you get Vitality as well, and you regen health every second. It's not a huge amount, but I mean it could still work. Yeah, no, that's pretty much any other options I'd recommend. Finally, we have Demolisher's Amulet, which can also be swapped out. So with Demolisher's Amulet, you're getting Zerk stats, so power, precision, ferocity. It's the big toughness increase that I prefer. So you don't have any vitality. You've got 11k vitality, but with that toughness, all your evades, the condi strips, everything within this build makes up for that vitality loss. So trust me, it's not easy to be killed. Instead of Demolisher, you could run many other options. So for example, you could run Paladin. So it's the same as Demolisher, but instead of ferocity, you get vitality. So this is a even tankier option, but as I mentioned, with all the evades and whatnot, I really don't see a point to go even tankier than you are. You could run Mender. Don't recommend it, because you don't really need the healing power. You could run standard Marauder for the extra vitality, but you're going to lose that toughness and be taking a lot more damage. But aside from that, I think that's really all I recommend. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, that's the build. Now we'll go over some clips.
Okay, so I'm going to be going over the role as well as commentating over these clips as they happen. So the role of this build is single-handedly just to be a side noder, to either win a 1v1 or just completely stalemate it, making, the far node neutralized at all times. That Daredevil on the other team is Velen, the well-known streamer, and I'm currently 1v2ing him and another very good power mesmer who often duos with shorts. And then a third joins the fight. It's a enemy condi thief. So now I'm a little bit more pressured. I have to kite, I have to get off node. Let's just see what Velen says.
Earth runes? What the fuck is wrong with you?
So he wasn't happy with the earth runes, but either way, I keep kiting from a 1v3. I survive it. I switch to sword pistol, get the stealth from the sword pistol, and then I go and get a free decap and actually end up full capping that node. So I essentially turned a 1v3 into a situation where I survived and ended up full capping a node. Let's see Valen's reaction once again.
Did that guy die, or I don't even remember. Did that dude die? He did.
You will often find yourself in 1v2s or 1v3s, and this is exactly what you want, because the more people committed to you in a fight means there's less people present at their team fight and increases your team's chances of winning greatly. In this clip here, I pulled a Reaper, Thief, and a Weaver to the far node. The Reaper ends up disengaging when he sees his other two teammates, but let's see how long I can last against a Sword Dagger Weaver and a Thief. As you can see, I'm doing very well, and then I see a third person who doesn't join the fight, but either way I go and kite just in case. I had fourth person, now 4 people at the far node, one's left, now 3. All committed towards me, unable to kill me because of this kiting and me going to the no port spots. The third one disengages and I get the steal on the Mesmer, so I know I can rejoin this fight with the Plasm. I get a bit too trigger happy and use a lot of cooldowns here, which was a bit of a mistake. So I end up getting punished for this in 3, 2, 1, dead. That 1v2 could have carried out way longer if I hadn't made that mistake there. The next clip is a straight up 1v1 against another Spellbreaker. So out of all side node classes, I'd say Spellbreaker and Hollowsmith are probably the 2 that you're going to struggle with the most, just because of the sudden burst that they can put out to you to one-shot you. With this Spellbreaker, it ends up being a very, very good duel. At the start, you can see I'm struggling a lot here, just straight up trying to stay alive, using those evades and stun breaks, trying to avoid his burst. As the fight goes on, the warrior uses more cooldowns. Here you can see he pops his rampage. So right now I'm just kiting, I'm in survival mode trying to avoid that at all costs. And now he is out of rampage, he's out of cooldowns, and I know I can go a little bit more offensive. The warrior starts taking a lot more heat. The constant weakness application from weakening strikes and my staff 2 help a lot in this. As you can see, look at the score. My team is doing very, very good because they still haven't capped the far node, and we've got home, and our team is doing fine at the team fight in a 4v4. I get the interrupt, knock him down, and as you can see, I get him very, very close to death. This 1v1 is clearly going in my favor. I've got Daggerstorm available, but a Scrapper joins the fight. And you damn well know I can't be 1v2ing a Scrapper and a Spellbreaker. That literally would be impossible. So I end up dying. But that 1v1 definitely would have gone my way regardless. The next and final clip of this video shows a lot more of me using my sword pistol. So I've pulled Valen and this Revenant to the far node, and I get a stealth, avoiding that Revenant's burst. I kite out a bit just to pull Valen away from the node and stealth up again. He ends up disengaging, and I evade the Revenant's burst with the pistol whip and then block further with his burst. The Condi Thief now joins the fight, and once again I just begin kiting, holding 2 of them there this entire fight. So I keep kiting, I swap back off to my sword pistol and get the steal on the Revenant. I pistol whip, interrupting him, and then end up kiting back behind the boxes again and then stealthing. I continue to stealth, just trying to waste these guys' time as much as I can, because dying is always what you don't want to do. So my teammate joins the fight. It's now a 2v2, and In doing that, we do successfully get the Revenant down. However, just as we do this and things are looking good, Velen joins the fight and gets the +1 on me, making it a 3v2 and killing me. So that is the build, that's the explanation. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to be playing this build a lot more on my Twitch and probably in videos. So follow me on Twitch, links are in the description, join us on Discord. See you later this week for another video.
Ice on me, and I feel just like flexing. Shorty shoot a shot, but it ain't no Smith and Wesson. Ice on me, but I feel like flexing. Shorty shoot a shot, but it ain't no Smith and Wesson.